Hi everyone, my name's Kiana and I'm a neuroscience major at Baylor University. And today I'm here to talk to you guys about some research I conducted about social media use and sleep quality in young adults and adolescents. Let's get into it. Technology has advanced over the years and doesn't really seem to be going anywhere anytime soon. We love to go on social media, we love to go and text our friends, and we even like to talk to Siri just to talk to Siri. We use technology to make our lives easier and so that we're connected to people all around the world. However, we don't really know the long-term effects of so much technology usage. I think it's really important that scientists look into these research questions not only to see how technology use affects our overall health, but to also see how it affects our brain health as well. Previous research, such as that conducted by Woods and colleagues in 2013, have talked about how phones emit blue light, which can suppress the production of melatonin. Now, melatonin is the hormone that doesn't make us fall asleep. It just sets our circadian rhythm in the right way so that we're able to fall asleep when we're supposed to fall asleep. So now that we know that phones in general can have negative effects on our sleep health, I would like to look at how specifically social media affects our sleep health and whether it really affects how we fall asleep, how long we stay asleep, and how much sleep we get in general. Let's get into my experimental design. So my experiment focused primarily on social media use and sleep quality in young adults and adolescents. I would predict to see that sleep health and sleep quality improves while social media usage decreases. My experiment lasted a duration of 5 days, with one day being for baseline, and the other 4 days were a combination of 2 control days and 2 experimental days. Now, the baseline day was used to gather information about how the subjects use social media in their everyday lives. I did this by administering the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index to get self-reported measures about their sleep quality within a month's time. So I use this measure to look at their sleep quality on a day-to-day basis, whereas I use Apple's screen time measure to look at how their screen time is normally on a regular day. As it pertains to control days were just days where they used their social media as they normally would, and experimental days were days in which the subjects underwent a social media fast. In other words, they didn't use social media at all. Another measure that I used in my experiment was a sleep diary. Now, a sleep diary is used to keep track of different sleep characteristics, such as time spent in bed, how long it took to fall asleep, also known as sleep onset latency. We also looked at how many times you woke up after falling asleep, which is known as wake after sleep onset. And then, of course, we looked at what time they woke up, etc. And for my experiment, I added another section took that looked at the screen time. So I had one column that looked at overall screen time, and then I had different columns broken down for each social media app, such as Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, etc. So I used this throughout the 5 days just to keep track of each subject's sleep quality and social media usage. Time in bed refers to the amount of time someone spends in bed in general. They don't necessarily have to be asleep. After collecting and entering the data, I found that the average TIB was 9 hours and 14 minutes in the control group and 8 hours and 43 minutes when on a social media fast. Though these results were not statistically significant, I think that this reduction of time spent in bed was not necessarily because the subjects slept less, but because they did not spend extra time laying in bed to scroll through their timelines. Sleep onset latency, or SOL, refers to how long it takes someone to fall asleep. Interestingly, SOL increased during the social media fast. It took the subjects longer to fall asleep when they were not using social media. However, these results were not significant either. Lastly, I looked at total sleep time, or TST, which refers to the amount of time a person actually spends sleeping. For example, someone can have a time in bed of 10 hours, but a total sleep time of 8 hours because only 8 of the 10 hours spent in bed were actually hours spent sleeping. Again, my results did not yield a statistically significant difference between the control and experimental groups. However, I do think that it's interesting that the TST actually decreased when the subjects were on the social media fast. Although I didn't yield any statistically significant results, I do think that these findings are pretty interesting considering they didn't really line up with my predictions. Perhaps the increase in sleep onset latency or the decrease in total sleep time were results of confounding variables, or simply because the social media fast disrupted the schedules that the subjects were used to. I still think that this area of research is very important and should be replicated. Some limitations of my study or my experiment were, of course, my very small sample size. It was a really short duration, it was only 5 days, and I was kind of very lenient with my experimental design in general. I would suggest that anyone who wants to replicate this design, of course, get a larger sample size. Two, make the duration for each condition longer. I would suggest weeks, 2, 3 weeks for the social media fast. And lastly, I would suggest looking at the different age groups and see how the results differ between them. Overall, I really did enjoy conducting this research. It allowed me to strengthen my skills and knowledge about the scientific method, as well as learn about the different technicalities that come along with scientific research, such as data collection and entry, statistical testing, and also presenting your own research. I really hope that you guys all learned something new about social media and sleep quality. Um, I do suggest taking a break from social media, though my findings weren't significant. I do think that if you take a break from social media, you'll find out that we actually have 24 hours in a day and you can spend more of that time sleeping. So, thank you guys for listening to my presentation. Make sure to like and comment, and I hope everyone has a great week. Thank you.